Okay, so now going on to question 6. When talking about educational opportunity, we tend to focus on the Black community as a whole, but when talking about Black women specifically, we've seen leaders like Ida B. Wells become a journalist and educator in an integral part in starting the civil rights movement in the 19th century, when Black women faced the most struggles out of anyone, and there's still many struggles they face today. Seeing more Black women going to college in our contemporary times, what barriers still exist that are rooted in the past from when somebody like Ida B. Wells went to school? I guess to you.
Black women in the past had to struggle so that Black women like me can be president of Central Washington University.
Mm-hmm.
But to say that Black women today are not having to navigate the same barriers and struggles is inaccurate. We're having to figure out what it means to be a Black woman in power in the Trump era. I've broken down this idea that Black women cannot be in roles of power at the university. I have to constantly remind myself that as a Black leader, I'm being held at a different and a higher standard than my white counterparts. I cannot walk around angry day in and day out because it plays on a notion that I'm an angry Black woman. I have to be strategic about everything I do because I am a Black woman and I represent not only the university but all students of color. So if I screw up, they're not going to want to put another person of color in this position. So I have a bigger duty than just simply doing the job.
Right. And so again, I guess going back to that part about how you're talking about like kind of walking that line of like every you're under a microscope. So you being a Black woman breaking down these barriers, it's kind of like you have to kind of pick and choose your moments and like so to speak, because you can't just get mad at everything, or like you said, you get labeled that angry Black woman. So is there anything specific that you use to kind of tackle those barriers or break them down?
I guess pre-planning.
Okay.
For me, I plan everything out and get multiple opinions before I choose to do something or make a decision. And for me, sometimes it might be that I might look like an angry Black woman having to fight against unjust situations, but that's the risk that we have to take and be unapologetic about the decisions that we make in order to impact many people's lives.
Right. Yeah, and I think just to add on to that too, I think a lot of people who are listening to this podcast right now is just that they don't realize the reason why Black women push back so much. A lot of it is based on the history, because if they don't fight for what's theirs, they're never going to get it and they'll be silenced. And hopefully more people are starting to learn that, because we already know there are a lot of ignorant people in our world. So the last question we have for you. So recently, as I said at the beginning of the podcast, you're elected as the president of the student government at Central Washington University. So again, congratulations for that.
Thank you.
And you've become the first Black woman to ever hold that position. Now that you've made history at this institution, in what ways do you think you can make more educational opportunities on the campus of Central Washington University for incoming and future students?
My number one goal, before I even get into the role, is hiring an undocumented student. We talk about inclusivity, but are we not giving opportunities to those who work hard for them simply because they do not have a social security number? Throughout my campaign, I've talked about diversity, inclusivity among students on campus. This goes beyond putting up flyers and saying students are welcome here. This goes beyond having a diversity center and multicultural center. Students' experiences are in the classroom, at the gym, in the circ, within the community, with the resources we say we provide to all students, knowing that not all students are treated the same. I am aiming my efforts to ensure that students who are set with a disadvantage and just simply need a break gets a seat at the table and an opportunity to change effective changes on this campus. Financial aid is a huge issue among all students, and some of the issues can be handled by a simple conversation. It's more, how can we expect for a problem to be fixed without the individuals responsible not knowing what the problem actually is?
Right.
I would like to have a student sit on a hiring committee, ensuring that we are hiring a diverse group of faculty and staff, and that staff and faculty embodies what our students look like, values, and educational needs. It is simply important for our students to see a Black woman as president to show them that they too can make history through their own passions.
And I love the part that you talk about, because obviously you care very deeply about the Black community, but all those intersections come together.
Right.
So like you said earlier, it's not only representing the Black community, but all people of color. So
Right.
yeah, I can't even imagine. Like, you sound like you're going to do so many great things. But everybody, again, Jasmin Washington, student body president for Central Washington University. Thank you so much for taking the time with us today.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Okay, that's all we have for today's episode. Thank you all so much for listening. We'll be back for more. Have some other great Black leaders for you to be able to speak to and listen from. This is, again, Jakari Aja Singh from the Black Society Podcast.